Hey everybody, and welcome back to the vlog. I hope you're doing well in this strange time that we're living in right now. And yeah, I hope that training's going well for whatever sport you may be training in. And if it's not, don't fret. I've comprised a list of 5 things that I've been practicing regularly in order to continue running every single day through this quarantine. But yeah, let's get into it.
Remember the last time I saw you tongue-tied, choking on the words you speak. You thought that I could be kept down. Now you're nothing but a vacant seat. I thought that we had a good thing. Now I feel so incomplete. You say it was all just a mistake, but I don't think I believe. It's too late, too late. I gave you the best that I have, but you held back. Now you hate when you can't have. I can't erase the past, but I'll pretend not to notice when I see you making eyes at me from across the room. You know I'm not the one that you'll be going home with, and you can't take it. There's so much I could say to you, but I can't go hold my tongue. 'Cause what's the point of hanging on when I'd rather be done with all the games that you insist on playing? Take your good intentions, leave the way you came. It's too late, too late. I gave you the best that I had, but you held back. Now you hate what you can't have. Can't erase the past, but I'll pretend not to notice when I see you making eyes at me from across the room. You know I'm not the one that you'll be going home with, and you can't take it.
Piece of advice number 1 is to remember why you started in the first place. So, was it for your health? Was it weight loss? Was it exploring your talents? Why did you start running in the first place? Did that goal or did that reason change during the quarantine at any point? And so my big running goal has constantly changed as time has gone on, as I've progressed. At first it was, oh, let me finish a half marathon, then a marathon, and then I started exploring different PRs, and then exploring different styles of races, triathlon, Ironman, you name it. This is just something that's also helped me through quarantine to say, hey, listen, if this sport is really not for me, then I wouldn't have this fight to do it through the quarantine. And now, it's tricky for a lot of people, because a lot of people are locked down, a lot of trails are closed, a lot of people are just literally just at home all day long, whether it be working, whether it's for unemployment, or they just don't have access to being able to run, whether it's, again, on trails, on a treadmill, at the gym, in any sort of capacity. So maybe I'm just in a fortunate spot where I still know what trails and what areas of the city I can run through to maintain social distancing and still have a quality run. So by that notion, I can continue striving towards my goal of bettering myself as a runner, pushing myself to the absolute limits, seeing what I can accomplish, while becoming a better, stronger runner after the quarantine than what I was beforehand. That's a lot of words, gee. I think it's that I'm still striving to become a better runner every single day, despite the conditions that are provided, whether it be rain, sleet, snow, hail, or of course the lockdown, you name it. I'm working on a daily basis to continue striving towards those goals. So you should remind yourself on a daily basis why you started running or why you started training in the first place. Number 2, embrace the routine and monotony. Let's say you do have access to running on trails, your streets, your neighborhood, and you do that same route every single day, right? Sometimes you run twice a day, sometimes you bike that same route, you know. Maybe it's getting boring. It's a good first step of burning out that boredom, that monotony of doing that activity every single day in the same places. But the way I look at it is that I don't think, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we're going to have another time where we will have this much free time to accomplish the goals and develop the skills that we might have wanted to have before this whole thing started. You should embrace that free time you have, because there's a very likely chance that we may never have a time like this again. And that's kind of a big thing for me, especially when it comes down to training, when it comes down to studying for certs at work, being able to work, at home every single day without anyone asking, hey, why aren't you at the office, So you should embrace this routine, embrace this monotony, but don't get bored of it and don't slack because this is such a repetitive thing. The routine is structure, and I think structure is the most important thing we can have in this particular time. Number 3, this is kind of a simple one. It's change your running routes, change your shoes, explore new places. So yeah, that's kind of self-explanatory. So of course, if you're running the same route every single day, try, the other way around, of course, try to change up your shoes. So if you're running the same pair of shoes every single day and they're worn out, go ahead and buy a new pair of shoes. I don't think there's a better time in the world right now than to impulse buy anything you want that isn't gym equipment or toilet paper. So if you wanted that pair of running shoes, now is a good time to buy that pair, because it might realistically be a lot cheaper right now than it would be after this thing, when demand starts increasing and things start returning to normal. Of course, exploring new places. So in my personal case, every Sunday I've gone to a different trail outside the Chicagoland area that I've run before or I've done before, and I've just revisited them and just had a quality workout with my family whenever they would join me during those rides or during those run/rides, whatever. So we tried to make that a regular Sunday thing, except for this past Sunday, which I just kept in the city because it was my first day of Chicago Marathon training. But yeah, I digress. So yeah, honestly, like, traveling is not restricted. So if you can find a trail that isn't closed or isn't being enforced with like police tickets or something like that, go for it. There's no better time than to explore these trails that you never been to. Honestly, there's no excuses unless the trail is like closed completely by the city. So good luck finding those, of course. I know that's kind of a tough call here, but yeah, no better time than to do those 3. Number 4 is to embrace cross training. So whenever people talk about cross training, it usually deals with, doing a sport other than running, doing some weightlifting, some body work. That's pretty much what I mean in this case. So if the reason it's tough is because, especially with weights and weight training, without access to a gym, if you don't have weights at home, this is kind of a tough thing to do. But if you do have access to stuff, you are extremely fortunate, because any weight is good weight, especially in a time when all these gyms are closed. So if you have access to weights, find a way to utilize them in a way, not necessarily to build a muscle, because this is going to be very tough to do in this time if you don't have access to it. Don't worry about building muscle. Work on trying to maintain it. I think that's going to be the biggest thing that anyone can do, whether it be, a weightlifter, a power lifter, a bodybuilder. I think they all understand that we're in a time where we can't necessarily get gains, but we can maintain what we have already, depending on what we have access to in our houses. You have to get creative with some things, of course, but that's a given. There's a lot of great videos and things that people put out of what they're doing to stay fit, and then there's a lot of people who show off that they've been investing in themselves and in gym equipment, and now when this kind of thing kicks in, where of course they have gym equipment and all these gyms are closed, they're doing okay, and they might have access to developing gains in this weird time. So in my case, I do have access to some weights. My brother and I are working on building our own, weightlifting compound in our like housing space, maybe even our garage, depending on how things go. So in the event that something like this ever happens again, we're prepared for it in the long term. To run 5 to 6 times a week or less. If you do have access to a bike trainer or, of course, a bike itself, definitely utilize the bike. Go on a fun ride, obviously. In my case, I do have my bike trainer, which I've been biking on every other day for 30 to 60 minutes just to add that active recovery, low heart rate workout, which helps maintain, if not build, my cardiovascular strength in the long haul. And of course, if you have access to it indoors and you have the bike, then it's a no-brainer. You should use it. And if you have an access to TV or Zwift or something like that, by all means, go for it. I'm hoping to get on that Zwift game in the next month or so, depending on when my smart bike trainer comes in. That's for another video, by the way. Piece of advice number 5 is run with a friend. That's kind of a given one, because we're living in this weird time where we can't necessarily hang out with our friends on a regular basis, or it's being strongly discouraged because 6-foot rules and things like that and no contact with people. It's hard to meet up with our friends other than an online setting. I'm sure a lot of people are getting by and trying not to gather in large groups and things like that, but running with a friend doesn't seem impossible. Just, practice, the right rules here. Try to keep your distance from one another. Try not to cough on one another while you're running. And of course, running in itself can be a teamwork sport if you look at it the right way. This is a huge misconception that people have never realized, that running really is a team sport. At the end of the day, because other people help motivate you, whether it be they're running with you or you see them post something on social media, and it gives you that spark of motivation when you see something on social media of people who aren't making excuses, who are doing this, who are on the grind even during this weird time. And yeah, that should motivate you to hang out with friends, to see other people do these kinds of things. Again, in my case, with the 2 weekends where we went to different trails outside of the city, my dad was biking with me. He was keeping pace with me, so he was inadvertently helping himself stay healthy, stay fit, while pacing me at a pretty fast pace to just so he has a good workout, I have a decent workout, and at the end of the day we have a good time, and I do my best not to look like a sissy while I'm running in front of my family. That's the list of 5 pieces of advice that I would recommend it to people who are struggling through the quarantine in terms of, staying fit, running on a regular basis. People who are just in a runner's rut, per se. That's probably what it is, for those in a runner's rut. So, yeah, if you guys have any suggestions you think could also work in addition to what I have on the list, if you disagree with something on my list or something I said, by all means, let me know in the comment section below. I'm curious to see how you guys are handling this quarantine, what you guys are doing on a regular basis to stay fit. But again, I practice about 4 of these 5 things on this list on a day-to-day basis in order to keep myself fit and motivated to run every single day during quarantine. The video, like it. If you have any questions or comments or something like that, just comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and yeah, I'll be putting out some more content related to my Chicago Marathon training as it goes along, my decision for the Tokyo Marathon, whether it's 2021, 2022, and I've got some other hilarious challenges that I'm going to try to do this coming month while we're on quarantine and I have the time to do them. So yeah, definitely sit back and enjoy those once they start coming around, but make sure you subscribe so you know when those come out. Yeah, so thanks again for watching, and hopefully this advice helps you, continue running and staying fit during this weird time. So, see you guys later.